everyone, welcome back to another episode of Talking Tongue, the weekly quarantine show where I get to talk to my friends near and far to talk about movies and superheroes. That's right. We can't get enough of superheroes in the pod cavern. I've been trying to hold it in. I try to hold in my nerd juices. Oh, that sounds bad. All my nerd energy. I try to be more mature because I am am I 31? Oh my God. I am trying to hold it all together so I don't, let people know that I'm a nerd all the time. But you know what? Being a nerd is cool. It's cool now. You can just do it freely. And that's why today I have, well, they're not just a nerd. They're like one of the coolest people I've ever met. And here they are, not a regular, but they've been on Ranked a few times now, but never on Talking Tongue. So here she is. Everybody put your hands together for Patricia Eddu. Wait, but Patricia or Patty? Because I want to always call you Patty.
Patty, like my personal life, I stay Patty. Patricia is for
just professional.
That's my alter ego.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Which is why I feel like this movie is perfect for me as someone who also leads a double life. I'm kind of a superhero myself, so I just feel like.
Wow.
I think so. Like, I'm saving the lives of young people across Ontario.
Oh, so, just like the protagonist in the movie that we have not mentioned yet. I think like yours is a little less fighty, punch people type of thing. Yeah. And you use the power of words. Yeah.
Yep. And inspiration, just good old fashioned motivating talk.
Patty, welcome back. Welcome back to the pod cavern, but welcome to Talking Tongue.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I'm such a fan of Talking Tongue, so I'm just like, finally, it's my time to shine.
Wow. I am flattered to hear that. Your tongue t-shirt is coming in the mail, Patty. Get ready. It's just going to be a picture of me in the shape of a tongue, and it wraps around the entire shirt. How do you feel about that?
I am going to sleep, eat, bathe in that shirt. Like that's all I'm going to be wearing for the rest of the year.
You are a fan, Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. I should
what you can't see is my tongue tattoo that's hidden away.
Oh God, is that all over your body too?
Oh God, no.
That sounds very expensive, and I did not approve this tattoo. Patty, for the people who don't know who you are, shame on you. But anyways, for the people who don't know who you are, now's a chance for you to show everything about Patty. So tell us a little bit about Patty.
Wow, that's so intense. I guess I shouldn't start with my deep-rooted childhood trauma.
I'm a therapist now, so that works.
Yeah. I don't see why you wouldn't be talking to so many people. But hello, everyone. I'm Patty. I don't really know. I always feel like I'm not a very interesting person.
That's insane.
Like, I know. It's ridiculous because I know I am interesting. And so I'm always like, what do I really do with my life? I like to think of myself as someone who's like a jack of all trades, a master of none. Like I'm not necessarily a nerd of one thing, but of many things. It really depends on the flavor of the month. There was a time like a few months ago I was really into the concept of like intellectual property, so like, that was my big thing. So I just find that like if anybody were to really try to understand who I am, I'm a little bit of everything. If you can find a Wikipedia article on it, I probably will love it.
That's a lot of stuff. Intellectual property. Now, I feel like that's a useful thing to know about. I feel like I infringe on that maybe sometimes. Or maybe, you know what? People steal from me. That's probably way more likely. People are on my intellectual property, but I don't know how to sue them. So.
Oh, I don't know any useful information about intellectual property.
Okay.
I got really like obsessed with the idea of how the concept of that even exists. Like I can have an idea and I can sell you my idea, and what's mine is suddenly yours, but it's not a tangible thing. It's just an idea that I have or like something that I create, and then I never have access to it again. I really hate sharing. So I think I was really struggling with that concept of giving away something that's mine to somebody else.
Well, who likes sharing? You got to give something for free away? Like, come on.
Yeah,
Wait,
or if you're paying for it, I want like millions of dollars. I
millions?
like with through my work, and I hope I'm not like giving anything away, but like, we'll pay people for their intellectual property
Uh-huh.
to like write as content. And I'm always like, wow, this is just mine now. Like I'm gonna do whatever I want with it. Or I
Whoa.
come up with ideas at work and I realize that's not my idea anymore.
Patty,
If
is
I
that
were
why you're
left,
here today? Are you trying to buy the Pod Caverns ideas and turn this into Talkin' Patty? Like what's happening?
yeah, maybe like next month I'll come out with Patty and Friends.
Patty and Friends, that
Like,
sounds way better.
yeah. It'll just be me talking to my friends about maybe I won't do movies. Maybe I'll do something different. I'll do like, what's your favorite podcast? We'll have a podcast
Oh,
about podcasts.
that's fun. That's fun. That's a good idea. Well, I'm gonna steal that idea before you take it away from entirely. Patty, what other things, in your life make you who you are? What else do you do in life?
I feel like there's nothing I don't do in a week. There's so much. I mean, a big part of my life right now, I'm really into home decor and like home renos. So I follow Laura's Instagram like a little stalker. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm always taking ideas from her and I'm like, how can I incorporate this into my own house?
Oh man, you can take her for a week if you want. She's
Can I please?
she literally says after you're done recording Talking Tongue, I'm going to Home Depot to get whatever, and then I just zone out because I'm like, you're always going somewhere. You're always going to get something for something. You go paint a
I was
new thing. She's sanding in the garage like an hour ago.
Yeah, I was hoping that this was going to be my interview to join her friend group. Like I'm really trying
Oh,
to jump into that group over
right. You're
there.
trying to just talk to me as like a
Hmm.
means to an end to get to Laura.
To get to Laura to be like,
Fair.
can you teach me how to beautify my house in the wonderful ways that you do?
Fair enough. Fair enough. I feel like that's all my friends do. They go, Tongue, guess what? I really love Laura's Instagram. That's what
Yes,
that's like I haven't seen you all. How are you? Good, good, good. You know what? I've been looking at Laura's Instagram and I'm like, well, that's great.
I'm always looking at Laura's Instagram too.
Like,
And sometimes I'm like, I should like message her less. Like this is, am I coming
no,
on too
she
strong?
loves it. She loves it.
Okay,
She feeds
fantastic.
on this type of energy. So thank you for keeping her occupied during these dark times. Um, you know what though? Like they're not so dark anymore, or they're starting to lighten up. This
Hmm.
show, Talking Tongue, we've changed the format to be a quarantine show, quote unquote, because we were locked in the house for so long. But little by little, we're starting to open up. I just got double vaxxed. I suffered for like a good day and a half. It sucked, really, but it totally was worth it. But I feel good. I feel like I just unlocked a superpower, and that's really encouraging. So for yourself, Patty, like what are the things that are keeping you motivated to get to that finish line for when things are like finally open for real?
I also got double vaxxed recently, and I also was out for 2 days. I just want to mention that. Like,
Oh,
it's so awful,
it
the effects
sucked.
of the second vaccine. And
Yeah.
you're kind of like, I should be thankful because this means that this is like actually working and doing something in my body.
Yeah.
Um, but also you're like, I hate this so much and I just want to
Yeah.
be alive again. So
Like, and not to make this a whole vaccine podcast, because I know everyone has opinions on about it, but like, should they? But anyways, it's a whole different
I
conversation.
also have a whole
I have a
opinion
whole
on
lot
like,
of things, but let's just say go get vaccinated. They're all good vaccines. Pfizer, Moderna, they're good. Just get them. Doesn't matter. Mix and match. Do it. It's good. That's my opinion.
get vaccinated. And another thing, don't expect everybody else to get vaccinated to protect you. I've heard of a lot of people like that. And that's just like, come on, guys.
That's a whole thing. We slightly started opening that box, but we got to close it because I
Yeah,
definitely do not want to go there. We're
the DMs you'll get.
they're like, Tom, oh my God, he's a vaxer. He's not even just an anti-vaxxer, a vaxer. That's even worse to some people. Oh
He's a
God.
super vaxer.
Oh, super vaxxer. Yes, of course. Patty, but going back to my other
Yes.
question, like what are the things that are keeping you happy?
So many. Like I found that I was really declining during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I think I was trying really hard to stay positive, but it was almost like, when people are like optimistic, but it's not like a healthy optimism. And I
Yep.
think that there's a word for that, but I'm not sure exactly what the word is. But
Hmm.
it's like you're just being optimistic for the sake of being optimistic. You're not actually feeling any joy, and you're just kind of shoving it down other people's throats. That was me for a while.
Okay.
And I've quickly realized that that was not how I needed to. Like I was like going around being like, I think I'm actually an introvert. Like I feel so great.
Uh-huh.
And I'm definitely not an introvert. I'm
Right.
very much an
An
extrovert.
extrovert.
Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I missed people so much. And so I think what really kept me going through the pandemic, there was a few things. First was a lot of self-care. I started therapy.
Oh, good.
I could talk about my therapist for hours. I'm obsessed with her. She's like helped me so much
You know
to
what?
just,
I love that people are going, that therapy is being more normalized with people. I
mm,
don't have one personally. It's just, I just don't have one, but I am so happy that people are being more comfortable being like, oh, you know what? It is okay. And to give
yeah.
myself permission to go talk to somebody
Oh,
professional
yeah.
about all this stuff. I think that's great.
Oh, yeah. And like you just learn about, and I think especially like, I'm sure you would understand a little bit of this coming from an immigrant background, like you are not really taught to think about yourself and your needs at all.
Hmm.
You're always being like, it's like selfish if you think about yourself. And
Yep.
so just going to a therapist and unlearning all of that has been amazing during the
Well,
pandemic. Like,
Patty, that's my secret is I'm very selfish. And
yeah,
everything my parents have taught me, I'm like, what? That sounds weird in a Western
yeah.
society. I don't want to do that. I'm very
Oh,
anti, well, not that that sounds bad. I my entire life have rejected my parents' teachings.
oh, you are brave.
And I've gotten a lot of shit for that, it made me like a black sheep of my family for a very long time. I still love my family. I just don't want to conform to these backwards. Well, it's not backwards to them, so I shouldn't say that. But to me,
Mm,
it is backwards,
yeah.
and I don't want to do that.
Absolutely. I recognize that now, but when I was a kid, you're surrounded, like we had such an intense community as well that like you can't run from it. And
Yeah.
I was still the black sheep because I would just like I would try and rebel like 3% compared to everybody else who was rebelling at like a negative 5%. They were just like totally conforming. And meanwhile, I was like, I'm not going to go into science. I'm going to go into
Yeah.
art.
I will not be a doctor. I
Yeah.
will not give my Saturday night to go hang out with my grandparents.
Yeah, I'm going to cut my hair. Like it's like, and like these are such regular, like any, I'm sure like anybody else listening would be like, this bitch can cut her hair. Like that's a bit aggressive. Like I really couldn't. Like I would do it. Like I would
Yeah,
find
yeah.
ways to do it, but I was, the black sheep that way. But yeah, so therapy has been extremely helpful. And like, and it's actually helped me with my relationship with my parents, which
Oh,
is so
good.
strong now. Because I
Oh,
mean, I
great.
live with my parents, so we're kind of all four of us are stuck together, me, my sister, and my parents. The first
Mm,
time all of us have lived together as full grown adults. And
wow.
so that was like a really big adjustment to make.
I would hate that. To live with your
Oh yeah.
family. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Just
they're
kidding.
crazy.
To live with my own family, the idea of doing that in my 30s is like, wow, that's
Yeah.
no bueno.
Yeah, it was at the beginning, it was so bad. Like we wouldn't be able to go a week without like having some sort of like blow up argument amongst
Wow.
all of us. And now we're all best friends. Like
Oh,
it's
that's so
just so
good.
different.
That's so
Yeah, it's
good.
so different. I
That's so
really love that.
great. So
Yeah.
therapy is such a
Yes.
huge thing. Anything else that you've been?
Personal training. So this year has literally been about like me and I'm like, work it, girl, you rock. So I started personal training at the beginning of like in January. I started personal training. Oh my God, everybody needs a personal trainer. Like
Wow.
it's just changes the game for like your fitness. So you know this about me. I'm very accident prone. Like I don't think a year goes by that I don't have some sort of like big injury.
Uh-huh. Yep,
So,
that's true.
yeah. So last summer I really got into fitness, was doing it by myself, was watching YouTube videos, was trying to create my own workouts. And then I tore my tricep
Oh my
within like
God.
a month. And
Jesus.
then, yeah, it was bad. I was in physiotherapy for like 2 or 3 months after, and
Oh
it
my
was,
God. I didn't know that.
yeah,
That's nuts.
it was painful. Like, and it's such a downer, right? Like, you're just like, I'm gonna take care of my body. I'm gonna change things around. I mean, I like tore my tricep, and I was like, what's even the point of living? Like, I was just like, it went so
Even my body
opposite.
doesn't want me to improve.
Exactly. I was like, this sucks. So I started personal training, and my personal trainer is amazing. Like, she like knows how to push me, but then knows that I'm like so accident prone. So
Mhm.
she's really helped me, and I've become so much stronger in my body.
Oh, that's
And like
fantastic.
when I first started training, I told her, I was like, listen, this is not about weight loss for me. I just want to get strong because I'm falling apart. Like my back pain,
Yeah.
my ankle pain, all of that is so like awful. So when I started personal training, we were like, okay, she was like, that's awesome. Like strength is why you should do it. And now I'm like a bad bitch, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can. You keep lifting your fists at the camera like you're gonna knock me out at any second. If I say the wrong thing, you're like, oh, I have a personal
Watch
trainer.
out.
Yeah.
I got guns of steel.
And after your personal training, is your personal trainer also your therapist? So-
No, but sometimes I have therapy and personal training right after each other. So I'll like, and it's all on Zoom. Like I even do personal training on Zoom. So I'll
Oh,
literally like,
interesting. That makes total
yeah,
sense. I was gonna ask you that. Wow.
yeah, we just use stuff around the house. And she's like so creative. She'll use like random chairs that I have and stools, and like
Yeah.
we'll fill a backpack with books, and that'll be
Oh,
like adding extra weight
interesting.
for me. Yeah, she's
She's
good.
like, go find your mother and then bench press her.
I could probably do that now.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
is your
No, no, I'm completely exaggerating, but
that I was gonna say, I was like, well,
yeah.
I'm sure your mother's over 100 pounds, so that would still
Yeah. I I can't even do like 5 pounds.
but the point is you're getting stronger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly. And I feel like my center of gravity has gotten better too. Like recently I tripped and I held myself up.
Oh, that the small checkpoint goals, Patty. That's incredible. I feel like a lot of people during the pandemic, they wanted to find and now that we're slowly getting out of it, I think there's
Hmm.
always going to be COVID around, that like
Oh yeah.
it'll be turned like the flu type of thing, get booster shots and all that stuff. But now that things are starting to normalize to a degree, I it's interesting to me if you ask the people that were like, "Oh, did you do the thing that you wanted to do at the start of the pandemic?" Because everyone's like, "I'm going to go get really strong. I'm going to go play guitar.
Hmm.
I'm going to learn this new thing." And then everyone's like, "Fuck it." And I don't blame them for that either because it's like, it's a huge adjustment, but it's like, I don't want to do it. I'm too sad. I'm too depressed. I'm going to go watch TV, do my own thing, keep myself happy. And that power to them. But you're actually
Yeah.
doing it. You're doing the learning thing. I mean, towards the end of it, but still
Yeah.
amazing. And I'm sure you're going to keep doing it after too. So,
Oh yeah, I think my personal trainer for sure is with me for life. And I think I'm like, hopefully I'll graduate therapy soon, in the next few months. But
right.
I actually created like during the beginning of the pandemic, like everybody was creating these like crazy big to-do lists.
Yeah.
And I created one that was very realistic for me.
Yeah.
And like I was like,
Get
this
out of
is
bed.
yeah. I was literally like, and I think I still have the list. It was like the 10 things that will like if I do it by the end of the pandemic, great. If I don't, it doesn't really matter. I
Is
really
that
hope
the
this
name of
works
the
out.
list?
No, literally, it was like, okay, so
Wow.
this is the name of the list. I just found it. 10 things that will be awesome if I accomplish by the end of quarantine, but don't matter in the grand scheme of life and will not affect my sense of self at all.
Oh my God. That's a long title.
That's a long title. Do you want to hear what's on the list?
Yes. Yes. Let's hear it.
Okay, there's only 8 items. So I
Okay.
kept it very reasonable. Oh no, it's 10 because there's 10 things.
Yeah. I was going to say
So
the title is wrong.
the
Okay.
so the first one was being able to do 10 push-ups,
Okay.
which I did. That was
Great.
last
Check.
summer. And that was literally when I tore my tricep. Like I was doing push-ups and then I tore my
Oh.
tricep.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think my form was not very good. This is for any of the immigrant kids. Mastering the perfect roti to curry ratio in the first serving. Like it's really
Okay.
hard to do. Like you always end up having to get more curry or like more roti, and it's really hard.
I don't face that problem, unfortunately.
Wow, I
But
don't understand. What were you gonna say?
it's like I don't face that problem ever. I don't really have that type of food around my house, although I do love it. It's been a while since I've had a good curry. Anyways, continue.
In time. Okay. The other one was watch a TV show in a new language, which I did. It was like a Korean show and like, but I love Korean shows. So
Great.
it's,
Yep.
yeah.
K-drama. I get it.
Yeah, love K-dramas. Big fan. Become famous on TikTok. Okay, that one didn't really happen, but that was me really reaching. That was,
Okay. Yep,
yeah,
fair enough.
I made like 3 TikToks.
You're like, why am I not famous yet? I quit.
Yeah, literally. Transfer all my photos to Google Photos. I did it. Watch every piece of content related to Star Wars ever created. I got 60% there.
That's
60%.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I just didn't get through all of the animated stuff.
Mhm,
So there's still time.
mhm.
Wash my shoes from a hike I went on in October 2019. I did that. I hadn't washed I did it like a full year later.
Oh my God.
Video chat with a friend at least once a week, and I did that. I think that was another big thing that like really helped me through the pandemic.
Mhm.
Get my sister to create an influencer Instagram account and then piggyback off of her fame to get famous myself. I'm still working on it. I'm almost halfway there.
Two of your things on your list is a way for you to get famous.
Yeah, this is
you,
like this
you
was
really want it.
yeah. I'm actually hoping Talking Tongue is what ends up helping me become famous.
Oh,
Like,
you won't. Not from this. Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. And then last one was to avoid getting bangs,
Avoid
which
getting bangs. Is
that's
that
my go-to move. Whenever I'm going through like emotional trauma, I'm just like, I should get bangs.
There's a lot to unpack there, Patty. Oh my God. That's oof. Oh wow, that list is incredible. I wish I made a list that deep. I guess
Yeah,
like getting famous. Yeah, let's do that. By the end of this episode, we're gonna make you famous. How's that sound?
that's all I want in life. And if you're the one that does that to me, I literally will really get a tattoo of you.
Okay, that's it has to be full body. Remember, it has to wrap around your entire body.
Okay, I feel like that's a bit aggressive. Like, how about I get one that's the size of like from my finger to this first line that
All right,
exists on
I'm
the
a
finger?
reasonable man. I will compromise.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into the pop culture news of the week. So, what we do on this show is I just find headlines from IGN in the last couple days, and I'm going to read you some headlines, Patty. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
The first one's a bit of a bummer, but
Oh,
it should just, you know what? We should talk about it really quickly because it's a pretty big deal for a lot of people. I'm not sure for me because okay, I should just say Richard Donner. Have you heard of Richard Donner before?
I'm really bad with names and
Okay.
faces. Maybe I know this person.
So this person was director of Superman, like the
Oh,
old school Superman, Lethal Weapon, and The Goonies. So
oh,
very
iconic.
iconic person. He had a
Mhm.
lot of love sent his way. Kevin Feige reached out, or not reached out, but like tweeted and stuff, being like, "Oh, he's the guy who taught us that a man can fly," and then everybody was like showing their love. For me, I've honestly never seen the original Superman. I know, comic book guy, never seen the original Superman. Sue me. Lethal
That's
Weapon,
surprising.
I don't think I've watched it all, and The Goonies, I've never seen.
Yeah, I've not seen the Goonies. I think I've seen Lethal Weapon, and I also have not seen the original Superman movies.
Okay. Well, I introduced us as both nerds, and look at us not seeing these,
I
but
know.
they're old classics. I get it. And I actually had somebody that I used to work with, and then I said I never seen Goonies. They said, "You've never seen Goonies?" And the next day they went out of their way to give me their Goonies DVD to watch.
Wow.
That thing sat on my shelf for a year and a half until I ended up quitting that place. And I'm like, "Here's your Goonies DVD back." And he's like, "Did you watch it?" I'm like, "Nope."
Yeah. I actually have a question for you on that. Like, how do you, because like this is what I struggle with, like
Mhm.
also as a nerd, is like I feel like I can't consume all the content. There's so much that I need to keep up on, and
I
I'm
know.
so bad at it.
I know. It's a good problem to have. Very privileged problem
Yes,
to have.
very privileged problem to have.
It's it's funny to me because like I love the show itself allows me to absorb content because it forces me to absorb like movies and stuff. And you know, people are like, you gotta watch this. I'm like, sweet, make me watch it for Talking Tongue, otherwise I will never watch it.
Yeah,
And that's a way for me to do it. And then yeah, it's so tough because I've reached a mindset where if I do nothing all day, and when I say nothing, I mean just binge TV all day, I feel really, really gross. Like
me
I
too.
really used to love it, but now it's like I need to do it in spurts or do a shit ton in my day. Like yesterday, I basically from when I woke up till like 9 p.m., I did a bunch of stuff. And then from 9 p.m. until whenever I get tired is like my time to relax, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, and I'm the same way where like I used to spend like 3 days. I didn't need to talk to anybody. I would just like consume so much content. But then now I can barely keep up with the TV show and finish it. Instead, I'm like, I want to spend time with my friends. I want to invest in my relationships. I want to read. Like I'm just like doing all of these other things.
Sure. Yeah. I will say though, I do somehow find time to watch TV and movies and stuff. Like, even though I have all these projects and whatever on the personal life stuff going on the go, it is a balancing act. One of the things that I found that was very helpful over the last, let's say, decade or so was cut your friends out of the equation. No, no, no.
Clearly.
No.
Yeah.
To a degree, honestly, but also like trying to cut down on phone time, I think
Mm,
is a huge thing that I'm a firm believer on is that when people ask you what you did on your weekend, and if the majority of the time you spent was just like looking at your phone, you can't really be like, oh yeah, I was just on my phone all weekend. Sounds lame, right? It's
yeah. Yeah. Two
so
hours on TikTok does not account for like time being spent on anything.
right. So it's one of those things where I'm just like, I try to keep compartmentalize my time, like not spending so much time on my phone. Like I really hate to look at it for so long. I get into a trap and all that stuff like Twitter and all that.
Mm,
But that's why I don't have TikTok myself because I know I like people send me stuff and that's great, but I know it's another rabbit hole and I'm like I don't want to look at this stuff because the time I can spend looking at TikTok, I can like do another productive thing, even if that means watching a new TV show. That's
yeah.
productive. That's something new.
Hmm.
Social media never ends and it's ugh.
And you always feel kind of shitty about yourself after because you're just like, I could be making TikToks at this time. Or like, why are all of these people just out here finding love so easily?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting in a closet on a Sunday.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. Next story is that we have did you know that they're making a Mario 3D animated movie? This has been announced for a while, a Super Mario 3D animated movie.
No, I did not know that. That sounds amazing.
So the people and that they got for it are the Despicable Me studio to animate it.
That's amazing. I wonder if it's going to be like the Sonic movie. Like,
Well, I don't think it's going to be like because Sonic was like interacting with like humans and stuff like that. I think this one's just going to be like just Mushroom Kingdom, like, you know, like
oh,
it
like
doesn't
they're
have to
like in
be.
their own world.
Yeah, I hope it's not like I don't need to see like Mark Wahlberg or something or
Yeah,
like
I think it was so cool to have like the game interact with like people.
I would like I mean then would you want to see that like Timothy Chalamet hang out with Super Mario?
Okay. I think that's the premise of the movie right there. Like I would watch that.
Yeah.
Just like, let's see what happens when your
Yeah.
beloved characters come to life.
I think it could be good. I think it could be good. Paddington 3 will begin shooting in 2022. Have you seen the first Paddington movies? 1 and 2?
Yes, I also listened to the Talking Tongue episode about Paddington 1 and 2
I love
literally yesterday.
Paddington. I love
I know.
Paddington. They are
Those
incredibly
movies were
wholesome.
so good, so wholesome,
Yeah.
so just like it's just so joyful to experience. Like I'm very excited about Paddington 3.
Yes, this is just good news to me. Paddington 3, give it to me.
Love it.
What else do we have here? We have, let's see. Um, Patty, have you been watching any Loki lately?
Okay, so I haven't watched Loki yet.
I
I know.
Have you watched any of the Disney Plus shows?
I've seen all of them, but I haven't had a chance to start Loki because on in my and I don't know really know if this is defense, but I started this other show on Netflix. It's really bad, but I can't stop watching it.
What is it? You got
Um,
to tell.
I'm gonna plug it. I'm gonna plug it at the end of the show.
Okay.
That's like what I'm gonna plug is this show that is like so addicting,
That's somehow
so
more
bad.
than Loki. It somehow
Yeah,
tips the scale for you. Wow.
yeah. But once I'm finished with it, next on my list is Loki for sure
Okay.
because I
All
need
right.
to watch it. I am such a Tom Hiddleston just like lover.
Well, everybody is. He's a good-looking dude.
Every time he dances, you're just like,
Okay. All right. All right, Patty. Oh, it's getting hot in here.
yeah.
There was a release trailer for Marvel's What If series. Did you hear about this or see this?
No, this is news to me.
Okay. And I won't spoil anything, but maybe like a hint of what it is. I didn't watch the trailer because I knew it was coming, but Marvel's What If we're getting so many Disney Plus shows this year. It's insane.
Ah,
Like,
I'm so
it's
excited.
crazy to me that they're like, okay, 2 years of nothing, and here you go.
Yeah.
This year, everything. It's just,
Yeah, I was thinking about that when we were watching Black Widow. It's just like, man, it's been like 2 years of literally silence. And then now we're just like being rained on.
yeah, it's like all of like it just pent up uh sexual frustration from the MCU higher
Yeah.
ups. And now they're just like, we gotta just pee it out. Terrible metaphor. But yeah, we got WandaVision, Captain America, and the Winter Soldier, and
Yeah.
then we had or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then Loki, and then now Marvel's What If series, which is essentially just a 3D Marvel. Sorry, I shouldn't say 3D. It's an animated
I saw
Marvel
this
show.
trailer.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's
I
like,
saw this
what
trailer.
if Peggy Carter was Captain America? What if? It's a very
Yeah.
famous long running series in the Marvel comics, and now they're bringing it to the small screen.
Okay. I saw that trailer. I thought it looked really cool. And to be honest, the concept reminds me of just like fan fiction,
It is
you know?
basically that. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I love fan fiction so much. That's another like area that I feel like I've lost track of that I wish I could go back into so much. So I feel like watching this What If series will just be like Marvel fan watching Marvel fan
It's gonna be
fiction.
great, and it's Chadwick Boseman's last time voicing T'Challa. Like they actually recorded his voice for this before he passed away,
Oh
so
my gosh.
that's pretty special, I think.
I feel like I'll cry when I hear that. I'll just be like sitting there crying. Like this is so beautiful.
Will you cry at this last news story that I have, which is this is um this is something very new I haven't heard about until now, which is Greta Gerwig. Greta Gerwig, very famous for making Little
Hmm.
Women, for making Lady Bird, and
Hmm.
now Greta Gerwig is about to direct the Barbie
The
movie,
Barbie movie. I'm so excited about this. And
starring Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie. I'm so excited about
What?
this. I am okay. I love Barbie so much, and I love the
Uh-huh.
Barbie movies. They're the most iconic. I don't understand why they're not on Netflix or Amazon Prime. I've seen every Barbie movie that's ever come out since the
What?
original ones on VHS. Yeah, huge
Isn't there
Barbie
like
movie
a
fan.
ton of Barbie movies out there?
There's so many. I mean, the ones that have come out since like in the last few years, say since 2015, have been kind of trashy. But the original Barbie movies with the original animation, and then some of the newer ones with the newer animation, just such excellent storylines
Is
and so
it?
yes, they're so wholesome. Barbie just like overcomes all of these great, it's like challenges and in these mystical worlds, and it's like she's just so multifaceted. Barbie is.
Is she like in toy form in those movies, or is she like fully animated? Like what's happening there?
She's fully animated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. So
she's not like the toy version.
she's not moving like weird and
No,
rigidity and like stuff like that? So it's not
no,
Toy
no.
Story, like the Toy Story Barbie.
No, no. She's like Barbie, almost like she's an actress, right? Like Barbie in Swan Lake. And it's like she, plays Odette in Swan Lake.
This is a
Or
real Barbie movie, isn't it?
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm only quoting real things here. Like Barbie in Princess and the Pauper, and she plays a double character. Okay. Do you know how great the animators of the Barbie movies are? They created blooper reels for the
Uh-huh.
movies where
Oh,
like,
okay. I see. So yeah, it's like fake bloopers for the Barbie. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
All right. But
It's just
Barbie's
so
not,
good.
is it just a retelling of these stories with Barbie in
Yeah.
it, or is it Barbie as an actress in these movies and then they like I don't know what are they trying to do here?
It's a bit of both. So usually how it starts out is like Barbie is in present day with like her friends or with her sister. I think her sister's name is Kelly. And there's some sort of like lesson to be learned. And so then Barbie's telling a story about like the past. And so, then she's like, "Oh, I'm going to tell you a story about like Swan Lake." And then, it like she's telling the story of Swan Lake, and then it's like Barbie in Swan Lake, and Barbie's like playing Odette in Swan Lake. And,
I
you know,
this is too much for my brain.
they're and they do like it's amazing they like actually get like they would like study ballerinas and just use them as models for like doing the animation, and it was so beautiful.
Wow. Okay, well,
Yeah,
that's beyond my brain. But anyways, Margot Robbie
yeah.
gonna
Margot
bring this
Robbie is
this
Barbie.
this Barbie movie character alive. I guess it's a live action if Margot Robbie's doing it. Who knows? I have no idea.
I'm
Um,
just so fascinated to see like which audience they'll cater to. Like I'm hoping that there's a bit of grittiness to
if
it.
it's Greta
I'd love to
Gerwig, he's done incredible stuff. So this
yeah.
this might be good. I
I
can't
think
believe.
it's going to be great. Like I feel like she's going to make Barbie very nuanced just considering all of her other movies.
Yeah,
And I'm really digging that, like a dark Barbie.
I'm
Wow.
shocked it's not Saoirse Ronan. It's good. It's Barbie.
Yeah.
They love working together, and Saoirse can
Yeah.
pull it off. She's gorgeous, so she would definitely be able to do that. So, but Margot Robbie, like, of course, obvious
Yeah.
choice. Obvious choice.
I totally see Margot Robbie as Barbie. Like
Yeah.
just like, yeah, big
Okay.
fan.
Let's
Okay.
get into the movie of the week. People have been clamoring. They're like, Tongue, stop talking about personal training. Stop talking about Barbies and whatnot. They don't need that. They want superhero stuff. That's why they're here, and we're going to give it to them. So Patty, do you want to introduce the movie of the week?
The movie of the week is dun 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 Black Widow, widow.
At some point, we all have to choose between what the world wants you to be and who you are. I made my choice. I'm done running.
Black Widow, everyone. This movie, over 2 years that it's been like since an MCU movie. Like Spider-Man Far From Home came out June of 2019. This movie wasn't supposed to be that long. It was supposed to like come out like March the following year. Like
Yeah,
quite
it
a
was
bit of
supposed
a
to come out
gap.
March last year.
Quite a bit of a gap anyways, but not this long of a gap. This movie got delayed to shit over and over and over again. And I'm very happy that they went with the Premier Access route. I know everyone has opinions on Premier Access, whatever. But you know what? I've rented a few movies in this whole pandemic age, like straights, like you can either go to the theaters or rent it. Premier Access is a better deal in a way because you get to keep it, quote unquote, right? Like
hmm
I've already seen
Yeah,
this movie twice. I've watched Black Widow twice now. I'm not sure how many
yeah,
you've seen it twice too.
me too. I watched it twice. I might watch it a third time today.
I might watch some snippets of it. Maybe that's giving our hand too much of
Yeah.
how we feel about this movie. But It was so great to be able to watch this movie like on the big screen. Oh, Mike, sorry, I have a big TV, so that's the big screen for me. But I was able to pause it last night, go to the bathroom, make some more food, come back
Mhm.
downstairs, handle the dog a little bit, come back downstairs. I love being able to pause during movies. It's so great.
It's gonna be so hard. Like I'm a theater lover. Like I love going to the theater, but also not being able to access the movie right away at home is gonna be so weird to have
Yeah,
to wait to
I
like
hope.
watch. Like,
Like I agree. I used to love going to the movie theaters, and I'll still go to like, I think when I go back, I'm going to support like the smaller business movie theaters, those
mm,
like those Bytown cinemas and whatever,
I yeah.
those types of like, theaters and things like the Mayfair, like say in Ottawa, for example. But the big name movie theaters, I'm like, fuck it, there's too many like stupid people that go to the movie theaters. I always go on big rants about people on their phones at movie theaters and talking and all that stuff. And I
Oh,
can't. That's why I like watching stuff at home.
yeah. No, I'm a cinema lover. Like I love going and experiencing it like in the theater with all those awful people. And I'm just like, this is part of the
Oh,
experience.
I hate that part of the experience. I hate it. It detracts from the movie so hard for me when people like whip out their phones. I don't but anyways, we were able to watch Black Widow from home, which is great because Shang-Chi, the next movie coming out in the fall,
Mhm.
will only be in theaters. So
Can't wait.
I would be ready to go back to theaters then. I can't wait for that either. But I am starting to sense that this age of like direct to home type of thing, they're gonna start taking that away from us, and it doesn't feel
Mhm.
great. I was just thinking like Pixar movies, all of Pixar's movies have just dropped on Disney Plus. You didn't have to pay for it. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that's incredible. Keep doing that. But I don't think that's going to be the case anymore.
Yeah, I find that kind of surprising because every other like facet of the world is going into some sort of hybrid, right? Like I work in events. So we're doing a hybrid type model for events moving forward. Why can't we have hybrid movie experiences? I don't understand.
Yeah.
You should be able to do both. Like maybe I'll go to the movie and then knowing me, I would go to a movie. I would pay to watch a movie in the theater. I would come home and I would pay to watch it at home again. I just love movies so
Just
much.
give us the option, right? Give us the
Yeah.
option. So with Black Widow, it finally came, it finally released, and it was an interesting one because it was one of those movies that were like people were somewhat excited about it, but I would say the buzz behind it wasn't like, oh my God, a new Captain America movie. Oh my God, an Iron Man movie. They were just like, yeah, I'd watch a Black Widow movie, I guess. And even though it was setting place, it was interesting because this movie's like uh, after Civil War, but like
Mm,
pre-Infinity War, pre-Endgame stuff. So it's like a
mhm.
prequel to in a way, right? And so people were like, okay, well, how excited can we be for like a mid-quel, prequel type of situation? And so the buzz leading up to it was like, okay, well, I'm sure it'll be fine, but I'm not too excited. And then it kept getting pushed and pushed, and then everyone's just like, just put it out already, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of started how I felt, where like going into this movie, I'm like, you know what? I'm excited just to watch another Marvel movie. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure I won't hate it. I'm sure there'll be moments I like. I'm sure it's not going to be the best movie I've ever seen, but I'll like it. And then after watching this movie, like, general thoughts, how do you feel?
I loved the movie personally. Like I really, really liked it. And I agree with you. Like you there's the whole piece about yeah, Marvel not releasing anything for 2 years, but also people have been asking for a Black Widow movie for years.
Yeah.
And I just it kind of feels like Marvel shit the bed, to be honest, on releasing a Black movie or a Black Widow movie this late in the game. Like I get it that it is one of those like prequel, midquel kind of movies where we
Yeah.
do get a Black Widow story, but it just feels like a random Black Widow. Like it did kind of feel like a random Black Widow story, but the movie itself, I loved.
Mhm.
The acting, I really loved. Like I just thought that they chose the perfect actors. And I
Right.
think the like acting and the characters stole the movie for me, but like the general like where it's placed in the MCU and the release timing of it, I'm like, oh, that part's not that great.
My thoughts on the movie, and now that I've seen it twice, I would say I really liked the film. It's not without its like, and I don't want to be nitpicky too much, but like there are spots where I'm just like, oh, I wish like this part was like a little more tight or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And because the first time I watched it, I always get like rose-colored glasses. I'm just like, oh yeah, I love everything. And then the second time I watched it, I'm like, I still really liked it. But there are things that
Yeah.
start to like you see and you're like, oh man, I wish this part was a little bit like tighter or better, or they wrote this a little bit
Yeah.
differently. Like, who am I? Who cares? Like, I'm just a audience member.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rewrite the whole thing. But I'll get into those aspects later. But overall, my impression of it was it's way better than
Yeah.
I thought it would be. My expectations weren't very, very high. They were like middle. And then it
Yeah.
exceeded those. And it felt really good for that.
Yeah. You know what I really liked about it was that it was an origin story without being an origin story.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that the idea of an origin story has been so overdone. Like we've also seen the origins of like every one of the Marvel characters.
Yep.
Whereas this one is like you learned about Black Widow's background, but it wasn't set in that time.
It's true because we've gotten so many snippets of Black Widow stuff over the last like however many years. Like just
Mhm.
it's been we've already kind of learned through osmosis like what her background was. We've heard of the Red Room before. We've heard the name Dreykov very little before. Like
Yeah.
Loki says that in the first Avengers movie. He's like Dreykov's daughter.
Yeah.
And now they like spin all of that and expand on all that stuff. And I'm like, oh my, this is what I love about the MCU stuff. And also the most infuriating things to some people, I'm sure, which is like it's all connected, you know, baby.
Yeah. I love that they like take little bits and pieces and like put it all together. Like,
Yeah.
and the way that they did it in this movie, like they explained all the teasers that we've seen about Black Widow in the other movies, but they did it in a really, and again, I don't want to get into too many details yet, but like they did it in a really clever way in the movie. I really liked that.
Yeah. And to your point about like the acting and stuff like that too, and that's what we're going to talk about because like I know there's maybe I'll mention it right here. Like there are people who don't like Scarlett Johansson in general because of things that she said in the past and whatever. We're going to strictly talk about like the acting aspect of it and not the gossipy, all that other stuff. Because like as soon as Black Widow came out, I knew people were going to come after ScarJo because because she said some stuff and whatever your opinions on her, that it doesn't matter. I'm just going to talk about her in Black Widow. That's the easiest way to do it. I will say though, I have always liked how she's stood up for herself in the press circuit since she's been Black Widow, and how she turns down a lot of like people who like try to over sexualize the character. I really enjoy that aspect of how she owns this character. Everything else, like I'm not going to touch it. I'm not qualified
you
to.
You, ScarJo.
Yeah, you do you, clearly. But the acting in this movie was really good. But I would say that we've seen Scarlett Johansson in so many of these movies that we know who Natasha Romanoff is, and we get a little bit more of that. And she's good in this movie. She is good. But the people who steal the show is everybody else.
Yes, I completely agree. Like, especially Yelena, I was just like, oh my God, you're my new favorite character.
Yeah, Florence Pugh, and I've seen her in not Lady Bird, Little Women, and I've seen her in Midsummer, and now this, and she is such a good actress. It's like, oh my God, she is really a rising star, and she's young too. I think she's like 25 years old.
She understands the assignment, and she like really gets A+ every time. I also saw her in Little Women, and I thought she was so great. I love her energy, and she like really embodies the characters that she plays. Like, what a little great gal.
She has like a lot of like good physical comedy in this movie too. There's a nice joke about superhero poses and stuff like that, where she like mimics Scarlett Johansson's character and like makes fun of it, and then she later in the movie does the thing, and then she feels gross about it. It's like It's really good. Or like later in the movie, this is like slight spoiler, but not really. She talks about how like the Black Widows get like their insides pulled away from them and stuff like that. But the way she
Mhm.
describes it with her hands is really like the physical comedy of it is really funny, uh,
Mhm.
and really good. And just her action sequences are really fun.
Oh yeah, like I don't know, like every time she had something on screen, like I couldn't take my eyes away from her. Like I thought that she was great. And I love that they would set up a joke at the beginning of the movie or in the middle of the movie and then bring it back again at the end of the movie too. Like even when she was talking about like cool ways to die,
Mhm.
when they're like cool, like she's like, oh, this is a cool way to die. And then there's another point where she might die and she's like, this is not such a cool way to die.
Yeah, she's
And you're just like, this is so good.
the sister relationship between Yelena and Natasha Romanoff, like it's really good because they're not really sisters. It's a family, and I guess this is like a somewhat spoilers. Like you have like it's the very beginning of the movie, so like um we have like a family that is not really family, but they've been together for a 3 year period, let's say. I think that's what it is actually, and then things go awry and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
But this is like the only family they ever knew. But like when they get together again later in the movie as adults, you feel that there is you feel that family energy, and it's really good. This movie is a family movie, you know,
It
dysfunctional.
absolutely, absolutely. And it was really funny because I saw a lot of my family and especially my sister and I's relationship in the movie. And so I felt so connected to their dynamic where, Elena's a younger sister looking for her older sister's approval, but doesn't really want to admit to it, but it's like so obvious.
Yeah,
And I'm waiting for my sister to come home. She's away this weekend, but I want to watch it again with her to
and
see
see
what her like thoughts are, especially being a younger sister, because their dynamic is great. Like I thought that
lots of
their
bickering
punchlines
back and
together were
forth
so good.
as
Yeah,
sisters,
like
or like approval of like, oh, do you like my vest? I knew you liked my vest, like that kind of stuff. And then
yeah,
like at the very end of the movie or something, like when they come together and you can feel like the sisterly love, it's like, oh, this is good.
yeah, and even like just their, Alexei being their dad, but not really their dad, but he's totally a dad with his like dad jokes and his like stories. He says a story about his father that Yelena's just like, I don't give a shit about this. And I've been in that exact moment with my father because he tells me these stories about his father, and I'm like, I don't care. And then I walk away.
Oh man, that scene was really good too. There's a lot of scenes like that in this movie, which are really, really, really great. Like they spend a shocking amount of time building up to getting this family together and then giving us like slice of like quiet moments between each other. Like they pair them off, like Rachel Weisz's character Melina with Natasha
Mhm.
Romanoff. They have like a nice daughter, mother daughter ish moment, and then you have like a father daughter moment with Alexei and Yelena, and like they're singing like bye bye, Mr. America,
Yeah,
bye. And it's just like, but the way that scene plays out is like really good. Like the
yeah,
drama of it is like, oh, this is like really beautiful the way they're
yeah.
portraying it.
And I like that what they didn't do, they didn't make it kitschy. Like, in Endgame when there's that one scene, and I think it's a great scene, but it is a bit kitschy, but I love it that it's kitschy. That all the like female superheroes
Yeah,
like
yeah,
walk up behind Captain Marvel and they have their little fight scene. They didn't do that in this movie where like all four of them are like in one scene fighting. That
yeah.
that doesn't actually happen, right? Like I feel like you would expect it to happen. Like they all emerge from like an explosion, ready to like go off and fight different,
Yeah.
enemies,
And
but
then they put
it
their
doesn't
hands
happen. They're
together and be like, we're family. And then they break
yeah,
off and fight. They don't do that. Yeah.
they don't do that. And I love that they didn't do that because I feel like you kind of would normally expect that from a movie like this.
Yes, the whole style of this movie is much different than I thought it would be. It's very inspired by, and I think we could start opening it up to like spoilers now. So, people, if you
Okay.
haven't seen the movie, you should go watch it. I
Yes.
think it's great. Patty thinks it's great. But if you don't want to hear spoilers, pause this now because we're just going to
Yeah.
kind of just say whatever and not be
Yeah.
filtered by it. But
Okay.
I forget where I was going with that, but I'm going to start with like my favorite part of the movie, which is the beginning of the movie. The intro sequence to this
Okay.
movie is insanity. It feels, and I've never seen The Americans before, but that's what it was trying to like rip,
Hmm.
where you start in like this like quiet area where like Rachel Weisz's character and David Harbour's character, they have American accents, but they are deep undercover Russian agents. And then you find out that it's time to go back like immediately. Shield is after them, and things start escalating like crazy. The way the camera moves and the just everything is like very intense. And then out of nowhere, you start getting like gunshots and plane and all the stuff, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? Is this a Marvel movie? Like,
Yeah. And then they don't even stop there. They go right into this like crazy montage, right? Or like where there's explosions and okay, I love montages. Like I just think it's such a great way to tell a fast story. And I think they did such a great montage, like, you know, where they show like these like big things that have happened in history, and then there's a silhouette of a woman in the background,
yeah.
and you're just like, this is the Red Room, and you learn so much about it so quickly.
There was a little, and not exactly, but there was to me a little bit of a James Bondy vibe to the intro, because
Hmm.
had we've never had an intro sequence like this in a Marvel movie where it's very stylized. It feels like Laura says it felt like a movie trailer, and it does, because you have that thing that like could have gone wrong, truly, because I
Hmm.
sometimes hate it where they have like a famous song, they slow it down, and then they
Yeah.
just play it on top of a bunch of clips to make
Yeah.
a movie trailer type of vibe. But I think this worked because they've never done it before in a Marvel movie, and it sets up this completely different feeling that we've never seen in a Marvel film, right?
Yeah, usually I find that with scenes like that, you kind of look away, like you don't actually pay attention because you're like, oh, I already know what's going to happen. But with this, I was like actually watching because they were also showing the girls as they were young kids, you know, taking those fake family photos, but then also what's happening in the world. And you see like the world and, you know, this like complex geopolitical like see these scenes, but then also these like family scenes at the side and like these girls being traumatized at the same time. Like this is happening at the same time. I was like, whoa, this is really intense.
It is intense. Like the first 20 minutes of this film, I'm not sure if that's true, but like the first little bit of this film is intense. Like,
Hmm.
and it doesn't get to that level intensity like as the movie progresses, but it's still pretty high up there, I would say. For me, anyways, the intro sequence was the most intense of it all. But like, there's some crazy shit that happens later in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like speaking to that James Bond vibe, like it was a just a good action movie as well. Like I thought the action scenes
Oh
were
my God.
really
Yeah.
well done. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they weren't like, you know, again, like I really hate when they try and do too much with action scenes or too little, but I think that they were choreographed so well.
It's true. It did feel really great. And that's like, I think that's what we wanted in like a Black Widow film, like a spy type of like action film, is that we don't need like complete superpowers, right? Like we get a little bit
Hmm.
of it with the Red Guardian. He's very strong, but we
Hmm.
don't, it's not lasers and magical
Yeah.
and stuff. It doesn't always have to be that. So like, with all that said, they can really focus on like the hand-to-hand combat stuff. Like later, a little bit later in the movie, when we get Natasha and Yelena to get together for the first time, the sister reunion,
Oh,
fighting in the kitchen, fucking intense. It's so good, that fight.
such a good fight. And they're so equal. They like they showed very well that they're equally matched, which I thought was really cool. Like with both of them on the floor at the end, like wrapped that curtain around each other, and they're
Oh,
like each killing the other one. And then they like truce. I thought that was really cool.
that was fun. That's fine. I mean, like we can name a lot of these action sequences that happen later. Like when they finally put their iconic, I guess iconic now, the White
Hmm.
Widow suit on, and like
Oh,
everyone's wearing White Widow suit, which like by the way, everyone looks super good.
oh
Like
yeah, their bodies.
all
I was
those,
just
like
like,
all their
yeah,
bodies, I'm like, oh my God, ScarJo has it. Florence Pugh has it. Rachel Wise, when they're wearing these outfits, like it's just like shit. Like everyone's looking good. They have personal
yeah.
trainers.
Yeah, get it, girl.
Yeah, David Harbour,
That was
no,
literally
because
me.
that's intentional. It's him for him
Really,
to
I thought he
fit.
looked the best of all of them. Like, I love me a nice dad bod.
I love the Red Guardian stuff. Not just to skip ahead a little bit, like all of his stuff, where like at the beginning of the film, he feels really like a responsible dad kind of thing, right? And then
Yeah,
as I guess he spends a lot of his life in prison, so that's how he
yeah,
starts becoming more slobberish and like kind of like a goof and a joke. But I love the idea of like the Russian Captain America, the only super soldier in Russia, and he's kind of washed up and just trying to relive his glory days, right? Love
yeah.
that.
It's such a different vibe to Captain America. He's almost like the anti-Captain America because he does love his country, but he's also like, you guys really screwed me, and I'm really cool, and everybody else should realize how cool I am. Like, I feel like that's how a normal person would react to getting superpowers,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I
Whereas
just
like, Captain
yeah.
America is like, you're too good to be true. Whereas he's like, you're so relatable. I love you.
This is starting to like get in my head of like this is a very common thing in comic books, but we're getting so many super soldiers now, so many of them. Like in say Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there was like a
Hmm.
super soldier serum. I mean, like everybody's trying to replicate the super soldier serum of some sort. Bucky has it, like all these things, and it's kind of really to hammer home the point that the reason why Steve Rogers was an impressive human was not because he was a super soldier. It's because he was Steve Rogers. And I love that it's always just like, yeah, who cares? Bunch of super soldiers out there. Who cares? Like, that's not it. It's Captain America's
No.
cool because he's like morally really cool, right?
Yeah, because the whole idea of being a super soldier is, you take the serum in, it just enhances not only your body, but like who you are inside as well, right?
Oh, it brings
So
out like who you really are.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like Captain America, like you're just 100% good. Like that's just so cool to think about. Meanwhile, we have like, what is it, the Red Guardian, who's just like such a mess.
Yeah. Such a mess. Such a mess.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. So
But then
the
really competent, right? Like he's not like a mess and then like totally useless. He's like a mess, but also so competent. I love
mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. There's like these scenes when they're that whole White Widow sequence when they're trying to break Alexei out of prison and stuff like that. Very fun, like an avalanche is falling down, and you have like good teamwork between Natasha and Yelena trying to break out the Red Guardian, and like there's a lot of drama happening and lots of high energy action.
I felt like that scene truly showcased that this was an MCU movie. Like that's what Marvel is so good at, is like these high budget, you know, experiences where like what is it? Black Widow's like on a rope, like hanging from a helicopter, pulling Red Guardian with one arm out of an avalanche. Like that was just, I was like, this is such an
Pretty
MCU
badass. It's
movie. Like
true.
I
It's
love
true.
this.
And she didn't even like, she barely changed her facial reaction as there's a bunch of snow about to like uncover her. Like, yes, it's
Yeah,
good.
when they're like circling around and she's like just flying on that rope, her body doesn't even move. Meanwhile, it'd be like flailing all over the place. Like
Totally.
you're just like, Black Widow is such a badass. And that's another thing too, is like, even though she's a spy, she's like an enhanced spy. Like she falls down, 3 stories, hits a bunch of stuff at one point in the movie and just lands on her feet. Like you really see that like Natasha Romanoff is a sick spy. Like
Yeah,
she's
she is
really
strong.
capable.
I mean, like she went through like crazy training, but you hear it later in the movie, and they reference this a lot of just like these other people, like the space god or whatever. Like he doesn't need to take an ibuprofen after a fight, like or like all these smart people who could like probably solve all of the problems in this movie,
Hmm.
but they can't because the Civil War fight is happening. That kind of stuff. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, they did a good job justifying all of like why this movie is happening or where in the timeline it is.
Yeah. And that she's extremely capable by herself and doesn't need any, like she has her own guy on the side who can hook her up with helicopters and, what jets, whatever she needs to get away.
Yeah. What do you think of that guy? He's Ray. Is that Ray Winston? I'm not sure. Oh no, OT Fag Benley. I've never seen him before. I think he's in The Handmaid's Tale. That's where he's famous from. So this guy who's Natasha's friend, but also the guy who gets her stuff.
I thought he was really random, like in the movie. Like I
Right.
was like, and then he keeps on trying to be like, "You're my friend," but then at the same time, I think he was useful to showcase how she changes through the movie. Because at the beginning of the movie, they have this conversation where she's like, "No, I'm better off on my own, and I don't need anyone." He's like, he makes some sort of joke about being her friend, and she's like, "You're not my friend. I don't need any friends. I'm better off on my own." Yada yada yada. Then she like has this encounter with her family, realizes that family's so important, and then by the end of the movie, she goes through this transformation. And I feel like where this movie was really good is you see the Natasha that you see in the rest of the Marvel movies, because she does kind of go through this change, but you don't really know why she goes through a change. But you see it in this movie why that was, which is where I just feel like Marvel kind of shit the bed in releasing this so late. Like, it would have been great if
They
it
should
was
have
released
literally done this
earlier.
after Civil War. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It is interesting going back and be like, everything has to be okay because
yeah,
the other movies happened, right? Yeah. It
exactly.
is interesting seeing it from that lens. Yeah, I thought this actor was like fine. I get why he was there. He's kind of more of like comic relief because this movie, there's not a lot of comedy in it.
Hmm.
There's a little bit of that classic Marvel like snippiness, but
Hmm.
compared to like other movies, it's not like that. Like it's not like early Marvel days, like the Avengers movie where everything's like a quip, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or even Thor Ragnarok, where everyth's a quip, but it's also just like a comedy movie kind of thing. Not really like that.
yeah. No, they did such a good job of balancing the like comedy with it being like really intense at the same time, and an action movie. Like, I just thought that this movie had a little bit of everything, which
Hmm.
makes me really happy.
There's two more aspects I really want to touch on with this movie. One of them being Rachel Weisz's character, Melina. What did you think about her?
I I thought she was such a complex character, and I really liked that, because I think, and this happens with movies where, it's really surrounded around sort of like a female lens, or there's a female lead, where a mother character tends to be like very soft. Whereas I thought she was a total badass. She was like, don't like, pain is growth, or what, I don't remember what her little line was there.
Pain
Like,
makes us stronger or
pain makes,
something?
yeah, pain makes you stronger. Like, that was really, I liked that she wasn't, total softie. Like, even at the beginning of the movie where they're looking at the fireflies, and the little girls are like, "Oh, I love the fireflies," and she's like, "This is the scientific name for them." Like, you can kind of see that there's not necessarily that natural motherly instinct in her,
Hmm.
um, that I like to see.
When she starts uh, strangling that pig by cutting off the oxygen, I'm like, don't do that. That's a nice little pig
Yeah,
there. The whole, oh
yeah.
man, we got to really talk about this. Okay, so before we move on to what I'm thinking, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but yeah, Rachel Weisz's character, I've heard a few things, but upon rewatch, I do think she did a good job. I wish the writers gave her even more to do, because I would say like Florence Pugh and David Harbour, like they get a lot of
Hmm.
screen time, and they have a lot of time for their characters to like get really big moments. And I was like, oh,
Mm.
maybe Rachel Weisz's character, she didn't really get enough of those moments. Upon rewatch, she did get a few. Like she ends up going and like uh she's like she takes down like a whole propeller down, an engine down by like shooting to the
Yeah,
sky. She kicks a little bit of ass here and there, but I guess I wanted to see her kick even more ass because I like her a lot.
yeah. It would have been nice. I feel like everything that her character did was kind of solo and in the background.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to see her have some sort of confrontation with
The
the
Dracoff guy.
Taskmaster. Yeah, Dracoff. It would have been really cool, I think, because they have kind of an interesting background. Like, and you get snippets of that throughout the movie, that she's his scientist, she's his strategist. Like, she's been like, she was literally like born and raised in the Red Room. She doesn't know any other life, but there's never any interaction between the two of them, and he just dies.
Well,
And you
there's an
never get,
interaction, but it's fake, right? Which is like,
but
huh,
it's
I didn't
fake.
understand that part of it. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
how?
And then when you rewatch, you're kind of like, you just don't see it as her. You see it as Scarlett
Yeah,
Johansson.
so
So
that's
you're
the
just like,
twist is like ScarJo's wearing like
yeah,
her mother's, I guess her foster mother's
face.
like face and
Yeah.
stuff. But I'm like, how did you navigate these conversations, I guess, without knowing the history? But I don't know, it just felt weird to me. I'm like, how
Yeah.
you're saying all these inside things to each other, but you're not actually the person. So how did you say all those things?
But that just goes to show again how she can easily like fall into a character. I think that's what they're trying to do there. But yeah, that was I know like even I was like, a little bit like that's confusing.
I would
But it
say
would have
that,
been really great to see like a standoff with Melina and Dreykov or Taskmaster.
or even Alexei
Um,
with Dreykov, right? Because like
yeah,
he's betrayed and stuff, and he never gets his revenge, I guess, right?
yeah. They technically these foster parents technically have way more complex relationships with the villain.
Hmm.
Um, so
But
yeah,
that's kind of
I
goes back to
think
your
that would have
point
been
where it
cool.
kind of flips it on its head, where it doesn't have to be this final standoff against like this man, right? Because
Yeah,
otherwise, like, what does this guy have? He has strong pheromones
yeah,
as his power, right? Or it's not even a power, but it's like people can't hurt him because if they smell it, they don't want to hurt it, which I think is like a funny way to give him like this fake superpower.
I find Marvel villains to be so fascinating. Like I'm always just like they choose just like such interesting characters. And I know like I'm not as familiar with the comics. So like I don't know what he's like in the comic books, but in the movies, they always come off as like kind of like these losers and they're not always that bad really. Like they're bad from the background, but they only show up kind of at the end and then they get rid of them so quickly.
Yeah. There's a moment with this Dreykov where he like where Scarjo can't like actually attack him, and then he like does like this backhand to her, which he doesn't actually like do any, like he just does this and she flinches. And there's like this moment of like, oh, he's actually kind of like intimidating because like he's given more, I guess, of screen time than some villains, and
Mm.
I felt there was more complexity to him than, not maybe not complexity, but there was a little bit more meat to him than some of the other villains that we've seen before, and he didn't even have powers. So
Yeah, that's true. You make a good point there. And just even to think that I'm going to control a group of people and I'm going to psychologically traumatize them so that they can't even touch me. When you think about it, that's like really evil genius.
mhm. And when Scarjo like smashes her head onto the table, and I was like, that's pretty metal. And then she like puts her nose back in place. I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I'll give you guys that.
Like she's just such a badass in this movie. And again, like not to bring back like feminism, but I just think that naturally audiences tend to criticize movies with like female leads a lot more.
Hmm.
And they just have like really high expectations. They're like, oh, an action movie with the chick as the lead, like it better be good. And then some of those
Yeah.
movies tend to try too hard, or they they try too hard to cater to like a female audience. Whereas this was just like, we're gonna make a badass action movie and our lead's just gonna do whatever the hell she needs to do to get the shit done. And she did.
I agree to the most part. I do think they couldn't help themselves at the very end of the movie, where the guy's just like, you know what this planet has a lot of unlimited resources of
Oh yeah.
women. And I'm like, God damn it. You guys could have just, you didn't have to go there. Like, so like it started getting a little bit heavy handed there where it's just like, Scarlett Johansson is the savior of all young women out there, which I'm like, God damn it, Marvel. You're so close to not having to go there. And here you are, this giant computer showing all the women in the world that she's saving or she's trying to save, which is
Yeah.
great. It didn't have to be, there were so many Black Widows out there that they showed at the end, like on this computer screen. But I thought it
Yeah.
was pretty cheesy the way he's just like, yes, girls, unlimited
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah, they could have just been like, look at all of these Black Widows that we're taking advantage of. But the whole like commentary on the girls, I was like,
Yeah, it was a
yeah,
bit
people
weird.
are not gonna.
And
Yeah,
like you could feel it. She doesn't say it, but she's like, it feels like I have to be the one to save all of the girls. As a girl, I'm going to save all the girls. And I'm like, God damn it.
but I love that stuff. I'm just like, yeah, you go,
You
girl,
go, girl.
keep saving. Yeah,
Like
I loved it. I was like, it's
I'm
so
not gonna
true.
say it was the worst. Like it wasn't super on the nose, but it was enough to be like the rest of the movie didn't have that in it. And this part of it felt like the most, like they really wanted to prove their point, and they did. So it's fine.
Yeah. I also found the interactions between Scarlett or Natasha Romanoff and the daughter really interesting. Like, I think that they should have just killed the daughter. Like, I think she should have just been dead.
I've been saving this part till the end of it because there's lots of opinions on Taskmaster, which is the daughter, right? The daughter of Dreykov.
The daughter's Taskmaster. I thought Dreykov was Taskmaster.
No, Dreykov's like the guy, just the human guy.
Okay.
And Dreykov's daughter is Taskmaster. So that's what it is.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So the whole going back to the beginning of the MCU and whatever, we know that there was something that's red on the red ledger of Scarlett Johansson, the Black Widow. And it's so red because we find out that she killed a little girl, which I guess she did. Like, they helped rig explosions to kill Dreykov, and the daughter was collateral damage, essentially. And that was like kind of the thing that haunted Black Widow's past and all of this stuff. Turns out the spoiler is that the daughter ends up being Taskmaster, or at least they never refer to the daughter as Taskmaster, just that the daughter is initiating the Taskmaster protocol. And the Taskmaster protocol essentially just a suit, and it has like this chip in it and whatever that it can memorize and mimic people's fighting styles, which is pretty cool in theory. Like, same thing in the comics, Taskmaster is able to basically see anyone fight once and then copy it. So we see a little bit of Captain America in this. We see Hawkeye fighting style, a little bit of Black Panther, a little bit of a Winter Soldier stuff going on, lots of Black Widow moves, all the hand-to-hand combats, which is cool. But the main complaint about Taskmaster that I've been looking at is that it's completely different than the Taskmaster in the comics. And this is where it becomes like, and I know you haven't read the comics, and I've read some, and I know Taskmaster was a male, which doesn't matter, Tony Masters, and then a female in a different iteration. But the main thing about Taskmaster was Taskmaster is actually really chatty as a villain.
Oh, okay.
And we don't get that in this film, which is, I think, what people were like, oh, you're giving it the X-Men Origins Deadpool like treatment, where in the X-Men Origins movie, when Ryan Reynolds initially played Deadpool, it was like not Deadpool. It was like this silent killer with like a burned face that was just mute, did not talk.
Yeah.
And that's where I can see the connection there, where it's just like this famously kind of chatty villain, completely mute, like nothing to it. So I guess before I get into all that other stuff, like, what did you think about Taskmaster as a whole, like in this movie?
Like, I thought that, well, for me, like, I wish that it wasn't the daughter. Like, I still think that the daughter should have died. And, you know, I can totally understand anybody who's like, stay original to the comics, because I always think that that's something that's worth doing. But I thought Taskmaster was a total badass. Like, I was just like, yeah, that's so great. I love a robot henchman that just like goes and does everything,
like a Terminator type of thing.
Yeah, where you're just like so badass, can kill anyone and anything. And I love that, like, even though, you know, there's that chip, this person's clearly like more enhanced. Like, as you're watching the movie, like, you don't really know much about this villain, but you know that clearly there's something super advanced about them. And again, I'm just such a big fan of Natasha Romanoff in this movie. Like, the way that she just like keeps her own against this like crazy robot villain. I thought it was really really cool.
I really liked. So this is the thing that like I've come to, and I'm not as hatery as so many. Well, you shouldn't pay attention to comments on Twitter and Facebook about movies anyways, because everyone always tears things apart. They're like, some person's like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. That's not my Taskmaster. But it doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm not so married to like the comics that don't think there can be change. Like reminds me of when the Mandarin hit in Iron Man 3, when there was a fake out and that wasn't the real Mandarin, and people fucking lost their minds on this. And now we're getting Shang-Chi with there's a real Mandarin. I think there's room in this movie where this isn't the real Taskmaster from the comics, because it's the Taskmaster protocol that she got, not like she's never Taskmaster, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, which is why I was like so confused. Like, what is this robot thing?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's true. Using the Taskmaster protocol was a clever way.
Yeah.
To not
leave
have
a door
to
open.
go according. Yeah.
I would say I like the Terminator aspect of it. And like we get this in like Captain America and the Winter Soldier too, when we first meet Bucky and he's just like a stone cold killer and he's like a threat and the music comes in. We get a similar thing with this, which I really, really do like. I think my problem with this villain on second watch is that I want to feel like in Captain America and the Winter Soldier, we get like there is a connection between the two opposing villains, right? Or the two sides of it, where we get Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes. There's a drama between them, even though they're fighting each other. You feel like we shouldn't be fighting each other. There's something we should work this out. There's like you can feel there's a relationship of some sort happening there. Where this Taskmaster villain, because they made her mute, barely talk. I think she gets one line at the very end where it's just like, is he dead? That's it. Like, it doesn't feel like, it feels like a very one-sided relationship where Natasha Romanoff is trying to like apologize for like almost killing this character, but we don't, because she's so mind controlled, like you don't get any facial reaction. And because of that, it's just
see it to the end.
Yeah.
Like it would have been nice if we found that out at the beginning of the movie and then you see their struggle, but then it's just at the end. Like,
yeah. So like I like in theory, like I don't mind that they made the change of like, this is a female, this is like the Dreykov's daughter, there's like a connection to her backstory. I think that's all great. But by making the character completely mute and just kind of like just Terminator, I just didn't feel like the fight to free her was that satisfying, because it was like, well, I guess you freed her at the end. Sweet. But I wish that there was like a more struggle of like, even if they showed like the daughter trying to break the spell a little bit or whatever.
Yes.
Anything to make me feel more.
Because then at the end, when she does release her, she's like, is he gone? So you know that she was feeling trapped the whole time.
But we don't see it like the entire movie, right? So that was like a little frustrating part of it. So I don't agree that like the change was bad. I just wanted to feel more of a reason for, like, on paper, I guess it makes sense for Black Widow to want to free this person that she thought she killed, and that it was the young girl of like that she kind of was assisted in destroying this person's life, you know, but there just didn't feel like it mattered as much as like other things that happened in the film.
Yeah, I'm also conflicted by my own feelings of like loving that she got redemption from thinking that she had killed this child, but also wanting her to still have that like gritty background of like, I killed a child and I have that haunts me.
Yes.
Like I want that to still be part of her story. But I'm also happy that she gets
what, me too, because like I know that's a very fucked up thing to say, but it's like it felt like Black Widow, I mean, like she was a trained killer. That was her thing, right? So you should kind of just let her have killed a child, and that would just be the messed up thing about her.
Yeah, I agree. And then I think it would have made this movie just that much more interesting if his child had died and then they met and, you know, it was like so complex. Instead, he's like, she's alive and you still have a chance to save her.
Yeah, she's alive and she's the Taskmaster, whatever thing. Anyways, I think the Taskmaster stuff could have been better, but like just on its own, like scene by scene, the way Taskmaster fights and all this other stuff, still really cool. Just story wise, I don't know. I just wish that was the part that I wish was tighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
So the skydiving sequence of this movie in the finale was awesome. Really just want to call that out.
They could have been killed so many times during that whole skydiving scene. and they just never get killed. Like nobody gets impaled. And I thought that was so cool. They're literally fighting in the air. There's that one scene where Natasha like falls on top of like a big window piece or
Yep.
something. And her and the daughter are like fighting on that as it's free falling in the air.
So cool.
After she saves her sister, I lost it. The amount of times that Natasha just like falls from the air onto her feet on the ground and just like picks up and is able to start fighting again
Yeah.
or get into the next thing is wild.
And it's funny because like when they finally land, it's like, oh, that wasn't a big deal to fall from like that high. Like they land pretty gracefully. Like it's just like, oh, like you got like a mini parachute. Like at the very end, you got caught on like a mini parachute down to be able to break the fall and then keep fighting. I'm like, holy shit, like that's lucky.
Yeah. Like it's like you in the movie, like you really see why she is part of the Avengers. Because I know that in previous movies, like people love to make fun of, you know, Black Widow and Hawkeye, and they're kind of just like, what do you guys do? Like,
Mhm.
you know,
You're just humans, whatever.
you're
Yeah.
just humans. Like, what are you capable of? Meanwhile, she's like falling from buildings in the sky, fighting like bad guys on the way down, landing on her feet and keeping on going. You're like, and this is where I'm going to go back to my original point. This movie should have come out way earlier. Like, you really see that, yeah, this chick is a badass Avenger.
It should have. It should have. The timing was weird on it for sure. But even like when Eternals comes out, that takes place like also precursor in the timeline too. So who knows? Who knows where things are going to go?
Yeah. Doesn't it like span a few years?
I think
Eternals?
so. You know what?
I
You're
saw
right. I
some
think they
parts.
start like at the beginning and then they go to
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
Time, man.
Oh, don't get me started on the construct of time.
Yeah, well, like in the MCU, they've already talked about like, well, I mean, Endgame, they did it with the branching timelines and stuff. And like, this is like a somewhat of a spoiler, but Loki explores that
Yeah.
as well. And then like when Doctor Strange of Multiverse of Madness comes out, that's also going to do that too. So it's like, oh my God, time.
I'm so excited for them to explore time in this way. And isn't there going to be another Ant-Man and the Wasp movie too?
Yeah.
And I feel like they're going to explore time in that
Oh,
because
yeah.
they're the ones that discovered that they can, you
The
know,
quantum stuff.
go
Yeah.
through time.
Yeah.
The quantum stuff.
Yeah, man, Marvel stuff. It's a lot to take in, but luckily we've seen them all. So
Yeah. I'm gonna keep going too. And I always feel like I always lose track of stuff. Like I can never remember people's names or like who was the villain in this? What happened in that? I always forget.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the post-credit scene of this movie. So go ahead.
Yes.
Tell me, how'd you feel?
I just want to know what they do with it. Like, is there going to be like a White Widow movie or something where Florence Pugh is like got her own movie, or is she going to be in a TV show? Like, how is it? I have so many questions about how they're going to do this, but the thought that you know, Hawkeye is going to be fighting against Black Widow's sister is really exciting to me.
So I have somewhat of an answer for you. So this movie
Really?
was supposed to come out before Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That was supposed to happen. That's how we would have found out about Valentina, which is played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, right? And
Yeah.
but we see that character in Falcon and the Winter Soldier a little bit. And for people who don't know, and I really don't know too much about this character, except for that she's like the female Nick Fury. And like she's also like questionable with the people that she brings together for the name of the good. If you've seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, she hires a U.S. agent who is John Walker. And John Walker did a terrible job being Captain America, but he's part of that team now. And you can see now that she's gone and let's say the new Black Widow, Florence Pugh, to go after Hawkeye, which we know has a TV show coming out. So she is going to be in the Hawkeye TV show.
Yeah, that's going to be so good. And I'm really interested because I did read up about Valentina when I was watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And she was always supposed to have been part of S.H.I.E.L.D., but now she's part of this like different organization in the TV shows, I guess, or they just say that she's part of an organization, right? Like they don't say what organization it is. So I'm just so fascinated. Is it going to be this like almost like group of anti-hero heroes? You know,
I
like
think so. Something like
the
that.
dark heroes, like yeah, which is going to be interesting
Yeah.
to
So
see how they do that.
I'm just excited to see Florence Pugh back. She's so good at what she does. And to see her in the Hawkeye TV show. Now I'm like way more excited about the Hawkeye TV show. I'm not one of those Hawkeye haters like everybody else seems to be. Like, he's fine. He's good. There's some moments that are really cool when he's had the sword in Endgame. That was pretty fucking cool. But
Yeah.
it is nice to see, like, oh, now Florence Pugh's in Hawkeye. I'm in.
Yeah, I just hope they keep, because like who's going to be the writers of Hawkeye, right? Like I just hope they keep how strong her character was in Black Widow,
Oh, I
because I
think they
think she
will.
started off so strong.
And
Yeah,
when
I
she
hope
does the
so.
bird call next to the tombstone of Natasha Romanoff, like doo doo, and there's no bird call back, it's like, oh, she misses her sister.
Yeah, it was just so beautiful. Like I love a good story about sisters. Obviously, I'm obsessed with my sister. So I was just watching the whole thing thinking of, Jennifer, just like, where are you? Why aren't you here with me? So yeah, I'm just so fascinated how they're gonna spin like Hawkeye being like a bad guy who like killed his, Black Widow to her sister. Like you would think that her sister wouldn't fall for something like that. So
Well, nobody knows, like, right? Like nobody knows that except for the Avengers that Black Widow sacrificed herself on a planet to save the world,
right.
right? So the only other person that was with her on that planet was Hawkeye. So they can spin that however they want, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm very intrigued to see how they do that and what's gonna happen with this like group of anti-heroes, because I also really hated John Walker, like US agent. Like I was just like, I thought the character was so blah. So I'm just like, how are you going to be on the
I
same
love
team as
him.
the
I loved him.
beautiful, radiant Florence Pugh? Really?
Oh, he's such a dick. He's such an asshole. He plays
Yeah,
it so
what is
well.
his worst?
Oh, I
Yeah, I
loved
guess
it.
that's true. I guess it goes to show that he played it really well, because I was just like, oh, I hate
He's the
you.
worst. He's the worst, but that's what makes him good. That's what makes him like be a juicy character to follow. But anyways, lots of Black Widow talk.
Oh wait,
Patty, any final thoughts?
one last point that I just thought of is it's going to be interesting to see Marvel kind of explore the idea of doing good, like having that intention to do good, but then doing it almost like in a bad way, or like you end up falling into the dark side of
Mhm.
yourself to do your good. Where, because I feel like with the Avengers, they were like so good and they were so wholesome, but with a character like Yelena and the US agent who are willing to do the dark things for good,
Right.
that'll be fascinating. Does that
There's
make
a lot
sense?
of things they're setting up, they're doing that, like the regular Avengers. Looks like they have things in place to have the young Avengers be in play. There's like little characters like this, like we'll get Kate Bishop soon. We're gonna, who's
Mm,
the Hawkeye successor. We have
yeah.
Speed and Wiccan, who are like Wanda's kids and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of like, ooh, there are things happening. Falcon at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier gives his wings away to some dude who ends up being
Yeah.
Falcon later. So it's like, interesting. There's a lot of nerdy shit happening, which now that I'm explaining it, everyone listening is like, grown.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I have chills, like all the hairs on my arms are standing up because I'm just like, I can't wait to experience this.
Yes, me too. Me too. They do such a good job. Patty, how would you rate Black Widow?
Okay. I am going to stick with my rating of using Melina's psychologically, you know, controlled pigs. She has 9 pigs, so I would give it a 7, and a pig that's kind of half out of oxygen out of 9.
Wow, that's a good rating. That's a good rating.
I really liked the movie. Like I thought it was so well done, and I really liked that it was the only Marvel movie that was directed only by a woman. So I
Is
thought
that
that was
true? And then Eternals as
yeah.
well will be the same as because that will be directed by a woman.
Oh, I love that. I love that because Captain Marvel, the director like shared the
Yeah, it's a shared
directorial
credit.
credits,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. But this one was just Kate Shortland. I thought she did a great job, and so I want to give her that credit.
I'm gonna give this movie 3 out of 4 believable Russian accents. So there's a lot
Very
of
fair.
accents where it begins and I'm like, that sounds fake. And then as it goes on, you just kind of accept it. That's what it is. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Because when Florence
Yeah.
Pugh started talking, I'm like, I don't know, because I've seen her in so many other things, and I'm like, that's not her voice. But then I was like, you know what? I'll take it. It's just it's fine.
Yeah, I bet she did the best of all of them.
Definitely.
For sure. Yeah. And then does anybody talk about why Natasha doesn't have an accent? Like, is that
I'm
something that
sure she
anybody ever
had
has
one,
brought
and
up?
then it went away as she got westernized.
How does that happen in your 20s? I don't understand. Anyways,
Well, it happened to Wanda as well because she had a strong Sokovian accent in Age of Ultron, and as the movies progress, she loses her accent entirely.
yeah, I love when that happens.
Yeah, the WandaVision show talks about it too. They talk about how she loses her accent and stuff like that. They're like, "Hey, what happened to your accent?" And as a joke, and then they move on. So,
Yeah, yeah.
anyways, where's my accent? Like
Anyways.
I used to have a
Yeah.
Russian. Patty,
Sometimes my accent comes out.
it's coming out right now. Patty, thank you so much for being on Talking Tongue. What a lovely conversation to have with you. I'm so happy I found that you love the MCU. I already knew this, so that's why it was so easy to talk to you about this stuff. And, what are the things that you want to plug before you end your time here on Talking Tongue today?
So, I was telling you this earlier. I don't have any side hustles or anything like that. You can follow me on Instagram if you want to see me live my life. At PAHT4Es, Pat T. That's my Instagram handle. But what I actually want to plug, or add me on LinkedIn because I love that world. But what I actually want to plug is the TV show I'm watching right now that is really bad, but it just came to Netflix. It's called Manifest. Have you heard about this TV show, Manifest?
No.
So for any of you Lost fans out there, I feel like you would really like this. Essentially what happens is there's a plane that's going from Jamaica to New York. It goes through some turbulence, and when it lands, all of the passengers find out that they have come back after 5 years. They've been missing for 5 years. And when they come back, they can see like visions of the future, and they can see when people are going to be in trouble. And it's like, if you've ever watched one of those, like, and I am, a Christian and stuff, but there are some Christian people that like will have these YouTube videos where they will just like pull random shit out of the air to put together like a beautiful conspiracy theory. It's like 2 seasons of that pretty much with these passengers trying to figure out why they have these visions and stuff. It's pretty much consumed my entire life, and I don't really do anything else but watch the show. The writing is really bad. The acting is pretty cringe, but somehow I cannot rip my eyes away. So I need somebody else to just watch Manifest and tell me their thoughts, just so that I don't feel like I'm going crazy.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a half recommendation where you should watch it just so Patty doesn't feel alone. But remember, it's not good.
Yeah, it's objectively pretty bad, but I still think everybody should watch it and let me know your thoughts.
I'm looking forward to when you finish that, and then you can just watch Loki afterwards.
Yeah. I'm going to start Loki literally right after I'm done Manifest.
Rewatch Manifest after you're done. Watch it on repeat.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, try to really understand all the various conspiracy theories that come up in one episode.
Oh God, it sounds exhausting, Patty. I don't think I can join you, but next Marvel movie,
mind sharp.
I can. Oh, you know what? You said you wanted to watch a different movie together for next time we do this.
Yes. Do you want to know which one?
Yes, tell me.
Now? Okay, I don't actually have the specific movie in mind, but I would love for you to watch a Bollywood movie.
Okay.
And we talk about it.
All right.
I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. I'm super down. I haven't seen too many Bollywood movies, and this would be a great excuse to do it. So I love it.
Okay. You have to sit through all 2 to 3 hours of it, and
I'll do it.
Songs. Okay.
Okay, great.
I'll find a recommendation.
Oh God, what am I signing up for? For myself, you can find the rest of the shows in the Pod Cavern at www.podcavern.com. Check out all the shows in there. Great content. Buy yourself a Pod Cavern t-shirt right on the podcavern.com website. And with that, that's the end of our episode today. We're going to close up this nerd special episode. But I love it. It was so much fun. Thank you, Patty, once again for joining me here today.
Thank you so much, Tuong.
And Patty, before we go, can you give us your world famous catchphrase?
That's hot.
Bye, everyone.